S-P-E-A-K. Everybody wanna sing. Speak up. S-P-E-A-K. Speak up.
Welcome to the Speak Up English channel. Are you ready to embark on an exciting journey of language learning? At Speak Up, we're passionate about helping you improve your English listening skills. Our lessons are packed with engaging content, including short talks, conversations, reports, news, and captivating short stories. Let's make this learning adventure fun and rewarding. Subscribe now and join our community at the Speak Up English channel. Let's learn, laugh, and grow together. Subscribe to Speak Up.
Sharpen your skills with this next listening session. Listen closely and snag every new word that floats by. Let's master your vocabulary. Unsheathe your inner voice and practice pronouncing each word. Craft a short sentence to acquire its meaning and lock it in your memory. Let's unleash your vocabulary potential.
Today, let's talk about a common art activity, coloring. Coloring books are common objects of play and learning for children around the world. In recent years, coloring books for adults have grown popular too. Children usually color with wax sticks called crayons. But you can also use color markers, pens, and pencils. Adding color to black and white images is fun and often calming. You just choose a color and fill in the space created by the lines. In fact, children are often taught to stay inside the lines when they color. Apparently, this idea does not come naturally. Child development experts say very young children begin by scribbling on a coloring page. They do not pay attention to the lines of the picture. The result is a colorful but often messy-looking picture. Then, between the ages of 2 and 5, they start coloring inside the lines. This progression shows an improvement in many skills: fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, space and object awareness, and more. Many children are taught to color inside the lines. As a result, many adults do the same. This makes the finished artwork look more organized and proper, because you followed the image's guide lines. That is why the expression, coloring inside the lines, means to think or act within generally accepted guidelines. If you color inside the lines, you follow the rules. You stay in the lines, or you play by the book. Not the coloring book, but the rule book. You can also say you stick to the script. A script contains the spoken words performers must say out loud in a play, movie, or show. Sticking to the script means you do not change the lines you are given. Such people can also be said to toe the line. That expression comes from foot racing. On the other hand, people who color outside the lines do not follow rules. They are rebels. Rebels reject rules. They color outside the lines and think outside the box. Instead of sticking to the script, they go off script. They improvise. Just as with rule followers, we have many word phrases and expressions for rule breakers. They break new ground. They are groundbreakers. They buck traditions. Used as a verb this way, buck means to oppose or resist. Next time you want to describe these two kinds of people, you will have plenty of expressions to choose from.
The Classical Age. Aeschylus. If plays had been rated in ancient Athens as movies are today, the tragedies of Aeschylus would have earned an R for violence, incestuous sex, cannibalism, and gory deaths. You be the judge. In the Oresteia trilogy, lurid details tell of Agamemnon's bloody murder of his own daughter while she's bound and gagged, the subsequent butchery and dismemberment of Agamemnon along with his paramour Cassandra by his vengeful wife Clytemnestra. More revenge perpetrated by their son Orestes, who, with the help of his sister Electra, fatally stabs Clytemnestra and her lover, Aegisthus. Oh, and don't forget Aegisthus' father, Thyestes, who murdered his half-brother and slept with the wife of his brother, Atreus, who then got even by killing Thyestes' sons, roasting them and feeding them to their unwitting father. Thyestes then raped his own daughter, who gave birth to Aegisthus, who killed Atreus. Phew! And that's only 3 of the 90 or so plays that Aeschylus wrote. It's too bad for slasher fans that only 7 of the 90 have been found. First of the 3 great tragic Greek playwrights, Aeschylus himself was apparently a very gentle and scholarly fellow, born about 525 BC into a wealthy family in Eleusis, 25 miles northwest of Athens. He grew up devoutly religious, believing in the Greek pantheon of gods, who were often cruel and violent. He was initiated into the secret cult of Demeter, known as the Eleusinian Mysteries. With his brother, Aeschylus fought in the Battle of Marathon, in which the Greeks defeated the invading Persians under King Darius. His brother died in the battle, but Aeschylus lived to do military duty once again against the Persians, this time led by King Xerxes at the Battle of Salamis 10 years later. This battle is memorialized in his play, The Persians. Murder may have been a horror to Aeschylus, but death itself was a natural and sometimes desirable culmination of life. "Death is a gentler fate than tyranny," he wrote in Agamemnon. "There is fame for one who nobly meets his death with honor." In that play, the unfortunate Cassandra contemplates her brutal demise with equanimity. "I willingly endure my death, and warmly greet the gates of Hades that open for me. Grant me, you gods, a clean blow and an easy fall free from agony. Let my blood flow smoothly from my veins, so that I may close my eyes in peaceful death." Aeschylus' own death was nothing he would have written a play about. He met his end unexpectedly in the year 456 BC at the age of 68 or 69, in a bizarre mishap while visiting the island of Sicily. According to Pliny the Elder in his Natural History, Aeschylus had been warned by an oracle that he would be killed by a house falling on him. Accordingly, he spent as much time as possible in the open, far from any edifices that might collapse. He was taking an ostensibly healthful stroll in the fresh sea air when what was said to be an eagle, more likely a vulture, dropped a turtle on his glistening bald head, which the not-so-eagle-eyed bird mistook for a rock. Bearded vultures, or lammergeier, Gepatius barbatus, are known to pick up box turtles, Testudo graica, and drop them from great heights onto large rocks with remarkable accuracy in order to get at the juicy meat and bones inside. The turtle house that was dropped on Aeschylus reportedly remained intact, but alas, the old playwright's head did not. Aeschylus was buried on the island in a grave that bore an epitaph that he had composed for himself. "In this tomb, in the wheat fields of Gala, lies Aeschylus of Athens, son of Euphorion. He fought in the hallowed precincts of Marathon, which can speak of his valor, which is remembered as well by the long-haired Persians." Aeschylus was survived by 2 sons, who were also dramatists. One of them, Euphorion, won first prize at the city Dionysia play competition in 431 BC, defeating both Sophocles and Euripides. Even though they didn't win on this occasion, those two were the true heirs of Aeschylus's dramatic legacy.
Cocaine in the Caribbean. Keeping it in the family. European territories in the Caribbean have become drug smuggling hotspots.
Back when the United States was the world's hottest market for cocaine, the drug was flown into places like Puerto Rico and the Bahamas, then taken to Florida by boat. Today, the fiercest demand for cocaine comes from Europe, where its wholesale price is some 40% higher than in the United States. To meet this demand, smugglers have woven a different set of Caribbean islands into their supply chains, Europe's overseas territories. The French departments of Martinique, Guadeloupe and French Guiana are particularly useful because they are part of the European Union, thus easing access to Europe. Getting into them, particularly French Guiana, is easy too. Smugglers passing through Suriname, a former Dutch colony, can bypass corrupt police at the Moroni River on the border with French Guiana, according to Insight Crime, an investigative outfit in Washington. Finding mules to take cocaine onto Europe is not hard either. French Guiana is poor compared with metropolitan France. Bagging €7,000, that's $7,600 for a 17-hour round trip is tempting, even though the odds of detection are fairly high. French police denied boarding to almost 10,000 passengers suspected of being mules in the year to November 2023. But most of Europe's cocaine comes by sea. A seizure on March 18th by authorities at the French port of Le Havre, 2.7 tons of cocaine shipped from Guadeloupe, was typical. Over half the cocaine seized in metropolitan France in 2022 came from its Caribbean territories. The picture is similar in other European territories. Britain's Caribbean possessions, including the British Virgin Islands, or BVI, are a launch pad for coke-laden yachts heading to both sides of the Atlantic. Arrivals from Curaçao, a poor island in the Dutch Caribbean, and Suriname, whose Dutch community makes up roughly half the population, accounted for 63% of all cocaine seized from passengers at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport in 2023. The Dutch authorities will spend €61 million this year patrolling their Caribbean territories. This growing trade has had dire consequences. The prison population in France's overseas territories rose by 47% between 2013 and 2023, in part because of drug arrests. The Caribbean now has one of the world's highest proportions of people in drug treatment from cocaine use. Several mules have died after ingested cocaine pellets burst in their guts. Drug-related violence troubles weak island states. Drugs feed corruption too. In February, a court in Miami found a former premier of the BVI guilty of drug trafficking. What to do? Efforts to boost port security can go only so far without hurting commerce, says David Caunter of Interpol. Less than 2% of shipping containers worldwide are inspected. Identity checks on travellers from French Guiana have reduced the amount of cocaine reaching mainland France, but they have also raised concerns about racial profiling. In any case, traffickers tend merely to shift traffic to Martinique and Guadeloupe. That is not surprising. French Guiana's mule traffic took off only after the Dutch tightened screening procedures for passengers travelling from Suriname to Amsterdam, says Thierry Nicolas of the University of French Guiana. The United States is by far the most powerful drug buster in the Caribbean, but the European territories lack muscle. CARICOM Impacts, a regional security body, struggles to get funds. Limited cooperation from poor Caribbean states weakens international security operations. It is extremely difficult to get help and accurate facts in investigations from other Caribbean states. Clarice Tarrant, the public prosecutor at Martinique's main port, told the French Senate in December. European countries where most of the cocaine ends up could benefit from putting more resources into the region. The EU is estimated to spend only around a third as much as the United States on supply-side reduction. During his visit to French Guiana on March 25th, his first in more than 6 years, Emmanuel Macron, France's president, faced renewed criticism for his government's insufficient funding of security. At the same time, European governments must tread carefully. Their directives can seem arrogant to their Caribbean residents. Local premiers expressed alarm in January when the unelected representative of the British government at the BVI sought extended powers in order to implement governance reforms. Yet, without Europe's help, the Caribbean will continue to suffer the consequences of being a conduit for the world's most voracious cocaine market.
Sharpen your skills with this next listening session. Listen closely and snag every new word that floats by. Let's master your vocabulary. Unsheathe your inner voice and practice pronouncing each word. Craft a short sentence to acquire its meaning and lock it in your memory. Let's unleash your vocabulary potential.
Continuing our series of articles on futurology, we take a look at text messaging.
Picture a group of people sitting together in a room or on a train, smiling, laughing, communicating, but not with each other. Instead, they are sending messages to friends far away, even in other towns or countries, using handheld communicators. 10 years ago, this seemed a space-age scenario. Today, we all carry technology that was once a Star Trek fantasy. Yet, despite its phenomenal popularity, text messaging continues to evoke anger.
How did it start?
Developers of mobile phones realized that they could easily include a text function. They limited it to 160 characters, entered through the phone's keypad. Nobody dreamed it would be so popular. By 2006, texting was used by 72% of the globe's 2.7 billion mobile phones. In the UK alone, we send 4 billion messages a month.
Who's angry?
Teachers, journalists, and other opponents of texting blame it for linguistic inability, lack of attention, and antisocial behavior. A controversial study by Crispin Thurley of Cardiff University identifies more specific complaints from alarmist guardians of language. 1. Texting ruins individual language skills, and it is ruining English. 2. Texting is a waste of time, only popular with socially inept loners. 3. Text language is uneducated. Text communication is shallow. Hieroglyphics, codes, and face symbols comprehensible only to initiates.
Are they right? Is the text generation illiterate and rude?
There's some truth in these complaints. I'm disturbed when a friend of mine reads and sends texts while we're talking. But it's worth remembering that there were rude and illiterate people before mobile phones. Thurley's study attacks these stereotypes. It's true that texters omit letters and punctuation, but most know when they are doing it. They are effectively bilingual. Traditionalists may complain, but with so much information to process, it's sensible for digital natives to simplify when they can. Text language brings the immediacy, flexibility, and humor of speech into written text.
What about the complaint that it's shallow and for loners?
Wrong. Technophobes assume that text communication is brief and imbecilic. But text content is not necessarily shallower than talking or writing letters. Thurley considers that, by maintaining intimacy over distance and time, text is small talk par excellence, creating its own etiquette and social rules. It becomes an empowering creative outlet, crucial for social bonding. He identifies the principal functions of texting: friendship, information, humor, flirting, and sex. A waste of time for isolated losers? Hardly.
But the language is hard to understand, right?
Media hype has inextricably associated texting with abbreviations like the number 4, meaning 4, GR8 for great, and the letters RU for are you. Emoticons are also criticized. These are those little sideways faces made from punctuation, such as the smiley face written :bracket or :bracket. But such codes are optional. In Thurley's study of 500 messages, there were only 3 abbreviations per message, 73 letter number homophones like GR8 and RU, only 39 emoticons, 192 apostrophes used correctly. Just as the 1950s media criticized youth culture for its jeans and Coca-Cola, today we stigmatize text speak, often unfairly.
What's next for texts?
New uses constantly emerge. You can enter competitions, complain to the government, and get reports on weather, traffic, football, and even check if your bus is on time. With a third of the world sending over 1 billion messages each day, it's hard to claim they're exclusive. Quicker than letters, less intrusive than phones, more immediate than email, the ubiquitous text message is here to stay.
Describing objects.
Good afternoon, madam. How can I help you?
Well, actually, I think I might be able to help you. I saw your ad in the paper, asking for a piece to exhibit in the glass exhibition.
Ah, yes. Do you have something with you?
Well, no, actually, it's at home, but I can tell you about it.
Mm-hmm. Is it a large piece? We really don't need any more large pieces, We're running a little bit short of space.
Oh, no, it's quite small. Surprisingly heavy, though. That's why I didn't bring it. Well, I was a bit scared of dropping it, too.
Right. And can you give me an idea of dates?
Sorry? Oh, of course, yes. Well, I think it's late 18th century.
Ah, lovely. Not damaged, I hope.
Oh, no, it's in perfect condition.
Okay, great. So, what does it look like?
Well, it's a round pitcher.
Uh-huh. Any pattern?
No, nothing like that. It's just plain green.
I see. I don't suppose you know where it was made?
Well, actually, I'm almost certain it's Venetian. My mother's Italian, you see, and she says it's been in the family for years.
Really? So let me make a note of this. One glass pitcher. Actually, it sounds very similar to one of the other exhibits. It doesn't have 2 handles by any chance, does it?
No, just one. And a small base.
Ah, no, it's not the same.
You will be careful with it, won't you? I mean, like I said, it's been in the family for years, and I'd feel terrible if anything happened to it.
Of course we will. Right, when can we come and pick it up?
Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome. Some of you will already know me. My name is Angela Murray, and I'm your tutor for the term. Now, before I give out your timetables, I need to complete the register for those of you who are new this term. Right, let's begin with the row at the back of the room.
Paco Gonzalez.
Paco, can you spell your surname for me, please, Paco?
Gonzalez.
Fine. And your Spanish?
Sí. I mean, yes.
And can you give me your date of birth?
Eh?
The date when you were born.
Oh, yes. November the 29th, 1972.
Huh? And your address?
Here in England or in Spain?
In England.
15 Pentland Gardens.
Do you have a phone number?
Yes. 88431.
Great. Thanks, Paco. Next?
Rosa Antonelli.
Rosa Oh, is that double L in Antonelli? You come from Italy?
Yes, and my date of birth is April the 11th, 1973.
Good. And your address?
259 Sadler Street, but I can't remember my phone number.
Never mind. Tell me tomorrow. Can you spell Sadler for me, please?
S-A-D-L-E-R Street.
Right. Now, I recognise the next person from last term. It's Bjorn, isn't it? And it's very nice.
Listen carefully to next session. Get ready for a vocabulary boost. Listen attentively and capture every new word you hear. Practice pronouncing each word and craft a short sentence to lock its meaning in your mind. Let's unlock your vocabulary potential.
As obesity rises, big food and dietitians push anti-diet advice. General Mills warns of food shaming. Dietitian influencers promote junk foods and discourage weight loss efforts. Jay Rochon struggled to lose weight for years, but she felt as if a burden had lifted when she discovered YouTube influencers advocating health at every size, urging her to stop dieting and start listening to her mental hunger. She stopped avoiding favorite foods such as cupcakes and Nutella. They made me feel like I was safe eating whatever the hell I wanted, said Rochon, 51, a video editor in Wausau, Wisconsin. In 2 months, she regained 50 pounds. As her weight neared 300 pounds, she began to worry about her health. The videos that Rochon encountered are part of the anti-diet movement, a social media juggernaut that began as an effort to combat weight stigma and an unhealthy obsession with thinness. But now global food marketers are seeking to cash in on the trend. One company in particular, General Mills, maker of Cocoa Puffs and Lucky Charms cereals, has launched a multi-pronged campaign that capitalizes on the teachings of the anti-diet movement. An investigation by The Washington Post and The Examination, a non-profit newsroom that covers global public health, has found. General Mills has toured the country touting anti-diet research it claims proves the harms of food shaming. It has showered giveaways on registered dietitians who promote its cereals online with the hashtag #DerailTheShame, and sponsored influencers who promote its sugary snacks. The company has also enlisted a team of lobbyists and pushed back against federal policies that would add health information to food labels. General Mills complies with federal regulations and works closely with a variety of scientific, health, nutrition, and other credentialed experts to ensure we provide accurate, evidence-based information, said spokesperson Andrea Williamson. Online dietitians, many of them backed by food makers, also are building lucrative followings by co-opting anti-diet messages. Anti-diet hashtags such as #NoBadFoods, #FoodFreedom, and #DitchTheDiet have proliferated on social media. The Post and The Examination analyzed more than 6,000 social media posts by 68 registered dietitians with at least 10,000 followers. The analysis showed that roughly 40% of these influencers, with a combined reach of more than 9 million followers, repeatedly used anti-diet language. Most of the influencers who used anti-diet language also were paid to promote products from food, beverage, and supplement companies, the analysis found. The rapid spread of anti-diet messaging and the alliance between some of the country's registered dietitians and the food industry has alarmed some in the public health community. Since the 1980s, the U.S. obesity rate has more than doubled according to federal data. Nearly 500,000 Americans die early each year as a result of excess body weight, according to estimates in a 2022 Lancet study. The anti-diet approach essentially shifts accountability for the health crisis away from the food industry for creating ultra-processed junk foods laden with food additives, sugars, and artificial sweeteners. General Mills embraces anti-diet messaging, Amy Cohn, General Mills' senior manager for nutrition and external affairs, promoted the cereal company's anti-diet messaging to a room of registered dietitians at a national food conference this past fall. Cohn denounced the media for pointing the finger at processed foods and making consumers feel ashamed of their choices. "You can help derail the cycle of shame," Cohn told the dietitians. During the session, Catherine Lawson, a registered dietitian and director of regulatory and scientific affairs at the food giant Nestlé, tweeted, "People need to feel heard and seen to help break the cycle of shame when it comes to losing weight and eating." At least 10 registered dietitians promoted General Mills' cereals in TikTok and Instagram posts last year, using the slogan #DerailTheShame while tagging the company in their posts. In some posts, dietitians show off personalized Cheerios boxes adorned with their names while they denounce food shaming of ready-to-eat cereals. In a separate TikTok video published in November 2023, the self-described anti-diet dietitian Cara Harbstreet promoted the company's Big G cereals, which include sugary brands such as Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cocoa Puffs, and Trix. "I will always advocate for fearlessly nourishing meals, including cereal," the Kansas City, Missouri dietitian told her followers in the video, which was labeled #sponsored and disclosed that she was working with General Mills. "Because everyone deserves to enjoy food without judgment, especially kids," Harbstreet said in an email she was no longer actively partnering with General Mills. Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat, Connecticut, who recently co-sponsored legislation to help establish more prominent nutrition labeling on the front of food packages, said food companies' adoption of anti-diet messaging is especially pernicious. "I think it is really reprehensible for the food industry to prey on the vulnerabilities of people who suffer from diabetes or obesity or diseases that are caused by excessive sugar, fat, and perhaps other ingredients that do them harm," Blumenthal said. "To tell people they should be proud of eating the wrong things, that's hardly doing them a service." How the food industry supports anti-diet dietitians. This past fall, following a separate post and examination investigation, the Federal Trade Commission cracked down on industry trade groups and a dozen nutrition influencers, flagging nearly 3 dozen social media posts that it said failed to clearly disclose who was paying the influencers to promote artificial sweeteners or sugary foods. Numerous food companies continue to sponsor social media ads by outspoken anti-diet dietitians. Dietitian Colleen Christensen posted a video of herself eating Rocky Road ice cream on her TikTok account, No.Food Rules, in which she mocks low-calorie alternatives. She has made ads for pancake makers Kodiak Cakes and Premier Protein for her 300,000 followers. Lauren Smith, who calls herself a food freedom dietitian on TikTok, has posted ads for frozen pizza from a gluten-free brand, Bonza, and for a high-protein snack company, Larissa's Kitchen, to her more than 70,000 followers. Christensen didn't respond to requests for comment. Smith said she only partners with brands that she uses herself and that align with her nutrition philosophy. Harbstreet, the anti-diet dietitian who touted cereals for General Mills, also has posted ads for low-calorie sweetener Truvia, Barilla Pasta, and a whipped cake icing brand owned by Rich Foods. Cargill, the parent company for Truvia, said in an email that the company does not focus on the anti-diet movement. "We engage with dietitians across diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise," a spokesperson wrote. "I think it is really reprehensible for the food industry to prey on the vulnerabilities of people who suffer from diabetes or obesity or diseases that are caused by excessive sugar, fat, and perhaps other ingredients that do them harm." A spokesperson for Kodiak Cakes said in an email, "We have always seen beyond of-the-moment trends and prioritize the importance of protein and whole grains in a healthy, balanced lifestyle." Bonza, Larissa's Kitchen, Rich Foods, Barilla, and Bellring, which owns Premier Protein, did not respond to requests for comment. The food industry's close relationship with dietitians was on full display this past fall in Denver at the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo, the world's largest gathering of registered dietitians. Dietitians noshed on vegetarian bulgogi samples from Beyond Meat and a pumpkin spice loaf made with the sugar substitute Splenda. Next to Camp PepsiCo, the beverage giant's summer camp-themed booth, dietitians waited in line to climb a giant yellow General Mills cereal box and slide into a bowl of plushy Cheerios. At a symposium, General Mills shared the results of a survey it funded about food shaming, defined as making people feel bad about what they eat. The company said the research showed food shaming led to lower self-esteem and eating disorders, and made people more likely to avoid the cereal aisle in grocery stores. Cohn fielded a question from the audience about proposed Food and Drug Administration rules to label foods high in sugar, salt, and fat. "We're doing everything we can to prevent that from happening," she said. "Shaming is what I call it." The industry doubles down. General Mills has funded at least 7 scientific studies since 2019, claiming that cereals are beneficial to consumers' health. One review found that children who ate cereal, regardless of the sugar content, had healthier body weights than children who ate other breakfast food or skipped breakfast. The company spent more than $2 million in 2022 and 2023 lobbying the federal government, according to data from Open Secrets, a non-profit group. Efforts by the FDA to regulate food labels have sparked some of the fiercest opposition from General Mills and other leading cereal producers. Last year, General Mills and fellow cereal giants Kellogg and Post Consumer Brands threatened legal action over a proposed rule to limit what they are allowed to promote as healthy. In a joint filing, the companies argued that the proposed restrictions would violate their First Amendment rights. "They love putting healthy in big red letters," Blumenthal said. "But when it comes down to the details, how much fat, how much sugar, they resist clarity like the plague." How the anti-diet movement has been distorted. Anti-diet proponents have been fighting against weight bias and diet culture for decades. The movement, now known as Health at Every Size, or HACE, began in the 1960s as a grassroots effort in tandem with other civil rights movements to promote equal access to health care, said Ani Jansen, the operations and projects leader for the Association for Size, Diversity and Health, which holds the HACE trademark. Elise Resch and Evelyn Triboulet, both registered dietitians, popularized the term intuitive eating with the publication of their 1995 book, Intuitive Eating, a revolutionary anti-diet approach. Intuitive eating urges followers to listen to their internal cues about hunger and is frequently used to help people with eating disorders. In the past few years, academic interest in these anti-diet philosophies has surged. From 2019 to 2023, academic mentions of anti-diet tripled, according to a post-examination analysis of Google Scholar data. An analysis of 1,500 TikTok videos using the hashtags #anti-diet or #health@every-size by the Post and the examination found that the most commonly discussed topics included eating disorders, dieting, and weight loss. Ice cream was the top food item mentioned across the TikTok dataset, with dozens of videos defending the dessert as unfairly demonized by society, the post-examination analysis found. In some videos made by anti-diet dietitians, creators say no foods should be labeled as junk or unhealthy because all foods have value, while showing snacks like Cheetos or candy brands like Reese's and Twix. But leaders of Health at Every Size say their work has been distorted on social media. The hashtag #HealthAtEverySize is often used to promote body positivity or suggest that you can be healthy at any size, Jansen said. Health at Every Size is really about how weight bias has created a healthcare system that is harming fat people, she said. The wide appeal of Health at Every Size online allows it to be commercialized, said Angel Austin, interim executive director for the HACE Association. You have a lot of privileged people talking about health at every size, unfortunately, because it's profitable, she said. Resch, the co-founder of Intuitive Eating, said that big food companies touting anti-diet slogans are just trying to make more money, and intuitive eating has been co-opted. Lifting the burden of diet culture, health experts say the most worrisome trend among anti-diet influencers is the alarming amount of misinformation they spread, including claims that excess weight isn't a health risk. Most chronic diseases blamed on weight can most likely be explained by other phenomena, such as weight stigma and weight cycling, wrote Christy Harrison in her influential 2019 book, Anti-Diet: Reclaim Your Time, Money, Well-Being, and Happiness Through Intuitive Eating. Harrison, a registered dietitian and podcaster, said in an email that if she were writing the book today, she would use more nuanced language. She maintained her opposition to intentional weight loss and said she still believes that many chronic diseases linked to weight have other causes, citing research documenting the harms of stigma and dieting. Deaths caused by obesity, diabetes, liver disease, and hypertension have climbed to record highs over the past 20 years, and conditions that once only afflicted older adults are now increasingly present in young children. Kevin C. Klatt, a registered dietitian and research scientist and instructor at the University of California at Berkeley, says anti-diet advocates who deny the connection between excess body fat and chronic disease have made up stuff that is a fantasy and a total fairy tale. Nonetheless, anti-diet influencers have found a growing audience among millennial and Gen Z viewers, many grappling with the food fears and restricted eating practiced by their parents. Casey Perlia Johnson, a fitness coach and social media influencer, said trying intuitive eating helped her develop a healthier relationship with food after years of being obsessed with exercise and calorie restriction. "We have all grown up around these crazy ideas about food," Johnson said in an interview. She said her clients encounter a lot of misinformation around restricted eating. "They ask me on the phone, 'Are you sure I can eat fruit?' While advocates say the anti-diet approach has brought a needed reprieve from the burdens of diet culture, others say the pendulum has swung too far, and the new anti-diet movement is hurting people at risk of health problems related to excess weight and a poor diet. Misled by anti-diet messages, Roshan said she initially embraced a new ideology about nutrition after years of struggling with binge eating, weight loss efforts, and hunger. Some of what she heard was based in fact. Studies show that restrictive dieting can significantly slow metabolism, a condition that can persist for years. Roshan grew to believe that restricting food in any fashion would put her health in danger. Listening to mental hunger meant that if she was thinking about a food, she should eat it. Your relationship with food would just get magically healed if you just ate the donuts and ate the cookies and weren't afraid of what you were eating, Roshan said. As her weight increased, it began to take a toll. The risk of humiliation while navigating crowds or fitting into seats made her afraid of going out. When she attended a concert with her brother, climbing a flight of stairs was so difficult that it stole my joy, she said. As my body got bigger and bigger and bigger, I felt like my life just shrunk, Roshan said. Roshan said health concerns prompted her to start watching YouTube videos that challenged what she described as the indoctrination of the anti-diet and fat acceptance movements. "I'm definitely out of the movement," she said. A few months ago, Roshan started her own YouTube channel, which has about 125 subscribers, in which she discusses her experience and her ongoing efforts to find a sustainable approach to nutrition. "I don't want my parents to bury me," she said. Jacob May, a dietitian and nutrition researcher at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center in Louisiana, said Roshan's story is not unique. He said some of his clients have gained as much as 60 pounds in 6 months while working with anti-diet dietitians. It led them to get into the largest weight of their life, May said. The downside from a health perspective is exacerbating their obesity and potentially making worse their risk for other nutrition-related diseases.
Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time for more exciting and helpful videos to help you master your speaking fluency through our listening sessions.